Hi everyone, this is Nate Miller and this is my innovation project. So the first thing I did is I went through and I actually did some research for AMC, and then according to the National Organization for Rare Disorders, the most common universal symptom of AMC is limited or absent movement around small or large joints. The contractures are present at birth. The muscles of the affected limbs may be underdeveloped, resulting in a tube-shaped limb with a soft, doughy feeling. Soft tissue webbing may develop over the affected joints. So this is the part of AMC that I really focused on and just talking to different people about it. So some of the activities and limited activities that I researched and looked at were physical activity may be limited because of existing orthopedic problems. As a group, patients appear to cope well socially, participating in social activities that correspond to their needs. Walking is more restricted in patients with flexion contractures of the lower extremities than in those with extension contractures. Flexion contractures of the hips severely impair walking ability. Contracture of the elbow can cause a significant degree of disability in hand function. The use of crutches can be impossible for patients with upper extremity involvement associated with severe spinal deformity, and then patients with more severe joint involvement depend on more help from other people than those with less severe joint develop or involvement. So the thing that I really focused on was this third one here. The contracture of the elbow can cause a significant degree of disability in hand function, but a couple of these other ones we touch on with the design that we came up with. So, as far as the brainstorming session goes, I brainstormed with three of my friends. One, he's a civil engineer, one's a architect, and then the third is actually a physical therapist, and he has done work with people with AMC. So he was kind of our background knowledge in our group. The different ideas that we came up with here are listed, which I'll go through. We just had there a couple of my friends from my undergraduate school, and we just went through a texting group over the course of 2 weeks. If we came up with an idea, we'd just text it to each other and then talk about it a little bit. And then my friend, who was a physical therapist, as he was meeting with some of his patients, he was just getting ideas from that as well. So, as far as the brainstorming goes, some of the ideas that we really focused on and talked a lot about were something that could help pull you off of the couch. Which led us into a seat that pushes you off of a chair and into a standing position. Some kind of shoe platform that holds the shoe in place and just helps a person put their shoe on. Some sort of drinking mug that you can use your arm to actually hold the mug and drink from it rather than having to use your hand. A wristwatch that self clamps, so like we were talking magnetic possibility, and an automatic knife that cuts food for you. Some sort of key turning device. So think of like a key organizer and then put a motor in it that at the end of it, it actually turns the key for you. Some sort of base for eyeglasses. So you don't actually have to use your hands or arms to take your glasses on or off or put them on. And then some of the other things that we were talking about is, can we do something with a TheraBand? So my friend who's a physical therapist is really big on TheraBand, so that's where that question came from. And then all four of us are really big sports fanatics, so we're also just trying to think of, is there anything that we can do sports related? So then looking at the list here, we eliminated some. The first one we eliminated was the couch, just because of limited supplies and not realistically able to build it from my house. And then the same thing with the seat cushion that pushes you into a standing position. The drinking mug, we eliminated that just because of the more we talk about it, a cup with a straw just seemed like it would actually be easier to use. And then the automatic knife, because that does already exist at a larger scale. I don't know if they actually exist smaller, but as far as like cutting meats, they already have those. Key turning device, eliminated that just because of not having a motor. So we were left with the shoe platform, the wristwatch, the eyeglasses, and then still thinking about the TheraBand and sports related. So as we went through this and thought about the different brainstorming sessions, we were actually golfing together. And while we were golfing, it just kind of came up to the idea of, is there a possibility to make some sort of golf club? So then we focused on a putter because of mini golf, so it relates to kids and adults. So then some of the Messler techniques that we used in discussing, and then as I further dove into the project, was electronic brainstorming. So like I said earlier, just because of the texting over the course of two weeks, sketching. So I sketched the design, took notes, made decisions based on the sketch. It was just I just used one sketch based on everything that we were talking about together, and then testing the model or test models and model testings because of the design build, and then testing the putter itself, and then trial and error just because of the design and the building of the putter based on our thoughts, then taking it to the observations, then the possibility of testing it again and coming up with ideas to fix it. So as you can see here, here's the sketch. I broke it into 3 different parts. I looked at the club head view, the club grip view, and then the full putter. So let's look at the club head first. An angled shaft that leads into the club head, flat steel surface, not that much different. And then a weighted back to just increase the power of the shot without having to use as much movement. So this is something that we'd have to balance it and almost make it towards an individual basis as far as like how much weight can they use, and then actually swing and get enough power, or if there's too much power. So then moving into the actual club grip, so some kind of weight to put at the top just to balance it. So if we add weight to the club head, add a little bit of weight to the top just to keep the club balanced. So again, up here I write dependent on the weight. A thick grip, which they do make these. I actually have one on my putter that you'll see, but a thick grip just to make it easier to hold. And then a flat front and back of the grip for a track pad that can move this glove on the front and the back up and down. So adjusting where the glove is vertically. And then the full view of the putter. So just looks normal here other than the fact that we got the larger grip, the gloves, and then I said 70, 80 degree shaft, but as I actually went through and did this, I think the adjustment is the way that we wanted to go. So the materials that I used my putter. Then I had this, almost is like a wrapping paper tube just to kind of make it a little bigger so it's visually, you can see it. I used electrical tape to represent a track pad, a couple clips just to hold this in place. I used a screw to represent a weight, scissors. I didn't actually use the Sharpie, the gloves, and then these like little sticker things. So for the prototype for our club grip, I took the wrapping paper tube and actually put it over top of my putter grip just to extend it a little bit, and so that I can actually add stuff to it without messing my putter up. But you'll see here, it's actually made the putter longer, and we can move this piece up and down depending on where the height of the child or the height of the adult that will be using this. And then there's this clip here. That's just to represent that you can move it up and down. Ideally, we would have something that's not just a giant clip that's in the way, something that you can lock in from the tube. Like you can see it better over here. On the top here, there's just a little screw, a little peg thing there to represent a weight. There's not actually weight to this, but just to say that we can put something on the top. And then these grooves on the wrapping paper, I use these as like, could we have something that's raised there just to enhance the grip, make it easier to hold. So then getting into the gloves, you'll see you have these little sticker things with the peels so you can actually take them off. I just used electrical tape to represent a track pad that you can move the gloves up and down because I didn't actually have anything that I could do with that. So ideally, if you want your hands closer together, you can move the one glove closer or both gloves farther apart, whatever you need to do. And then just these little peels here representing that you can actually take them off and move them. The thumbs, I wouldn't actually have them. They were just a pair of mittens that we have, so that's what I use that. And then in here, just the opening that you would put your hands into. So then this is the view of me actually holding it. I didn't have my fingers in the thumb at the time. I just had them in the mittens, just kind of applying a little bit of pressure from each side, but because they're stuck to the grip, it made it easier to hold. Here's moving on to the actual club head. So I just use my regular club head that I have on my putter, flat front, and then I added a weight here. So this is actually a magnet, which I thought would be ideal. Maybe just give different weighted magnets in whatever packaging you use with this, and then you can decide what you need to do or what you want to use. Then looking at the club shaft, so you can see it's already kind of bent to flatten so the club head's flat from where you stand. I just put electrical tape there to represent where I would put that adjustment. And then I use just these lines here to show that you can make it a higher degree angle or lower degree angle depending on what your preference is and what's needed. So this, ideally, you would bend the shaft however you need to, and then here is just a clamp that locks it into place. So then this is the final prototype of me using it. Sorry about my dog chasing the golf balls. But as you can see here, my hands are just in the mittens, or what I call the gloves in the case. They're not actually wrapped around at all, and then it is extended a little longer for my height, but like I said, you can move this up or down. So then as far as reflecting on everything that I created, I just broke it into the 3 parts again. And the first thing I thought about was the club grip. So taking the club grip and rather than it being 1.5, 2 inches, extending it to maybe 3 or 4 just to make it a larger area, and then making the flatter space larger as well, just to give some different types of feel, along with the grooves to go with it too. And then instead of the gloves, initially I just had the idea of the gloves moving up and down, but actually moving them side to side so you can actually place them anywhere you want on the grip, just to give it more of that individual feel. As far as the club head goes, just taking my original putter head and extending it, just so that there's more of a surface area to strike the ball. You would also have to extend the weight that's in the back of it then too. And then the biggest thing I think I would change would be the club shaft. So rather than just having this adjustment at the bottom here, actually make a second adjustment at the top that you could use if you chose to. So for example, like if somebody is actually in a wheelchair or needs to be in a sitting position, they can actually bend the putter so that it's flat out the ground, but also comfortable for them to use. Or the other way around, you could actually make it so that it's more vertical if you are in a position, or the way that you're standing, that you have to stand right over top of the ball. So either way, just put a clamp here that can adjust and lock it, and then same with down here. And then this just shows, again, if I took the grip and extended it, what the putter could be. So you'd have that large base, large grip, and then 2 pieces to bend at the shaft. So overall, I think this could be good for kids, like I said, in mini golf. But now that I'm just presenting it and thinking about it, a lot of older people like to golf, and over time they have a hard time holding their clubs. I know my grandfather went through this, and it was actually pretty tough for him to give up golf because he played almost every day. But just having something like this that could potentially help, even if it's just going out to a putting green and putting, just to kind of get that feel to connect back to the things you like to do and the things you enjoy.